there, welcome over here to my kitchen today. I am super duper excited to be sharing my family's all-time favorite one-pot meals with you. I love making one-pot meals just because you could throw everything into one pot, cook it up, and then dinner is served. I really hope you enjoy this video, and let's go get to my kitchen and let's start cooking. We're gonna start today with one of my all-time favorites, this vegetable-packed Orzo lemon chicken. So in my large pot right here, I have a tablespoon of some hot olive oil. I added my pound of cubed chicken breast. I'm just seasoning it with salt and pepper. And you're going to cook this chicken completely through. Once it is cooked through, you're just going to remove it to a separate plate and set this plate to the side. Add an additional tablespoon of some olive oil to your pot and then add your one diced up white onion. We're just going to be softening the onion at this point. It's just going to take about a minute or two. Now you're going to want to add in your 1 cup of Orzo along with a couple teaspoons of some minced garlic. This recipe is seriously so simple to throw together. It also has a ton of great unique flavor, so that's why my family loves it. After I am through stirring the onion and Orzo together, I'm going to be adding my 2 1/4 cup of chicken broth and let this simmer on my stove covered for about 5 minutes. After those 5 minutes of cooking, go ahead and add your cooked chicken back in with a half of a lemon and then a half a cup of some Parmesan cheese. For my veggies, I'm adding 1 pound of some chopped up asparagus. I chopped the asparagus into about 1-inch pieces, and then 3.5 cups of some fresh baby spinach that I also chopped up. Go ahead and let this simmer on your stove covered for an additional 7 minutes. Here's my big bowl of food. Of course, I topped mine with some more Parmesan cheese and lemon. The spinach in this wilted down beautifully, and the asparagus was nice and tender. Even my little daughter, Brinley, she likes this meal, so it's a hit for our family. Now we're making one of the most gorgeous one-pot meals ever. This Tuscan chicken's outstanding. So in my large pot, after my tablespoon of olive oil is hot, I'm adding my 1 chicken breast in. This is 1 chicken breast sliced in half horizontally so it appears as 2. I just season the chicken with salt and pepper on each side. One of the chicken breast halves actually has some parsley on it because my little daughter Brinley insisted that it needed parsley. But anyways, now that chicken is cooking, I'm going to slice my 1 pound of little potatoes in half. If they are a little bit larger, go ahead and slice them into 4ths. You don't want to use russet potatoes for this recipe though. But now that my potatoes are cut up, I'm just going to be slicing my 1 cup of cherry tomatoes in half as well. Now we're going to be making an extraordinarily easy cornstarch slurry. So to my half a cup of chicken broth, I added 1 tablespoon of cornstarch and I just whisked that together to combine. So now that my chicken is about 90% of the way cooked, you don't want it completely cooked because it will finish cooking in a moment. I removed it to a separate plate and I set that plate to the side. So now to my hot pan, I added a couple teaspoons of garlic along with the tomatoes and potatoes that we just chopped up. Now to get our seasonings on, I'm adding 1 teaspoon of salt, about 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, oregano, and basil. I'm going to stir this all together and let these potatoes, tomatoes, and seasonings cook for about a minute or 2. Now you'll want to add in your 1 cup of chopped up fresh spinach, the cornstarch and broth mixture, your half a cup of heavy cream, and then give this a really good stir. And then after that, you're going to be adding back in your chicken. Put the lid on top and cook this for about 15 minutes or until your chicken's completely cooked through and the potatoes are nice and tender. After those 15 minutes of cooking, my chicken was thoroughly cooked through and the potatoes were nice and tender. I served mine with some Parmesan cheese and some fresh parsley sprinkled on top. I love making this meal for my family because it's so simple to make, and then also it's like a complete meal, so I don't really have to serve it with any side dishes. It's just a great option. Now we're making a fun one, this sausage Cajun pasta. To get this one started, I'm going to be slicing my 12 ounces of kielbasa up. Over to my pot with a tablespoon of some hot olive oil in there. I'm just adding the sausage. You're going to cook this sausage until the edges start to brown. This is going to give it a ton of great flavor. While I do have our sausage cooking, I'm going to dice up my one medium-sized onion into smaller pieces. So now a couple minutes later, over to the sausage. Now that the edges are starting to brown, I just added the diced onion in. You're going to season it with about a half a teaspoon of some salt and 2 teaspoons of Cajun seasoning. You're going to stir this around and let this cook together for about 3 minutes. Now that my onion has softened, I'm adding in my 2 teaspoons of some minced garlic. Just stir the garlic around and let it become fragrant. It's only going to take about 20 seconds. I'm adding in 14 ounces of petite diced tomatoes, or you could use 14 ounces of some regular fresh tomatoes, whatever your preference is. 3.5 cups of chicken broth and 14 ounces of pasta of your choice. I just chose to use the swirly spirally pasta. This is going to simmer on your stove until the pasta has cooked. Now that my pasta is at the tenderness that I like it to be, I'm just going to be adding in my 1/4 cup of some heavy whipping cream, along with 3 ounces of some cream cheese and 1/4 cup of some Parmesan cheese. Just stir this all together, let the cheeses melt down, and then it's ready to serve. Here's the finished product. I just sprinkled mine with some Parmesan cheese and some fresh basil. I love this recipe because it's almost like a lighter tasting and feeling pasta dish. It's not extremely heavy and the sauce is a little bit thinner. This one pot meal is a wonderful lower carb option. To get this one started in my pot, I'm just going to be cooking up 1 pound of some ground turkey. If you don't care for ground turkey, you could use ground chicken or ground beef as a substitute. While I do have that cooking, I'm just going to dice up my 1 medium onion, 2 zucchinis, and 1 yellow bell pepper into smaller pieces. Now that my turkey is through cooking, I'm going to be adding my 2 teaspoons of some minced garlic in. Now for all of the seasonings, a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of pepper, chili powder, and oregano, and just 1/4 teaspoon of some paprika. Stir all of these seasonings together. Let the seasonings get coated in the turkey, and then once you are through with that, you're going to remove everything to a separate plate and set this plate to the side. To the same pot, you're going to be adding an additional 2 tablespoons of some olive oil with all of the veggies that we chopped up. And then, of course, this is going to need some seasoning. So to flavor this up, I'm adding a half a teaspoon of salt, pepper, onion powder, oregano, basil, and just 1/4 teaspoon of some paprika and black pepper. Stir everything together and let these veggies cook until they're softened down for about 8 to 10 minutes. Now that I do have my veggies to the tenderness that I like them to be, I added back in our cooked turkey along with 2 tablespoons of some tomato paste, half a cup of water, 3 cups of some fresh baby spinach. You're going to stir everything to combine and then place the lid on top and let the spinach wilt down and just let everything cook together. Here's the finished product. This meal is packed full of vegetables and protein, so it is just an amazing complete meal in itself. This one is another hit for my family, and it has a ton of some great flavor. Now we're making this classic goulash, and this is comfort food to the max for me and my family. In my pot, I have a pound of some ground beef. I added 1 diced up white onion and a couple cloves of some minced garlic to that. I'm just going to cook the ground beef completely through. Now that I have my ground beef completely cooked and I drained out any excess grease, I'm adding in my 14 ounces of petite diced tomatoes, or you could use regular diced tomatoes, whatever your preference is. Just a little pinch of some salt and pepper, tablespoon and a half of Worcestershire sauce, 14 ounces of beef broth, 8 ounces of some tomato sauce, 2 bay leaves for some extra flavor, and a teaspoon of some brown sugar. Give this a really good stir and let this simmer on your stove for about 15 to 20 minutes. After those 15 to 20 minutes of simmering, I'm going to be adding in my 2 cups of some elbow pasta noodles. Give this a really good stir, and then you're going to want to cover this back up and let this simmer for an additional 10 to 15 minutes or until your noodles are cooked like this. After your noodles are completely cooked, you're just going to remove your 2 bay leaves and then add in your cup of some sharp cheddar cheese. Give this a really good stir, let the cheese melt down, and then it's ready to serve. Here's my big bowl of food. Of course, I topped mine with some more cheese. This is such a good go-to family comfort food type of meal. If you've never made goulash before, I 100% recommend it. And that is a wrap of this video today. I really hope you enjoyed it and maybe found a meal that you might be able to make for yourself. As usual, if you are new here, we would absolutely love to have you. So go ahead and subscribe down below the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.